Give me your name.
Jonathan Freeman,
And
I'm National Director of Mosiac.
And as far as I remember, how long have you been working with Suki, the coach?
So we've been working now for just over a year.
Okay. And you became CEO about 3 years?
Just under 3 years ago.
Okay. So, casting your mind back to a year ago, what was happening in Mosiac that made you think actually a little bit of extra support or input might be a good idea?
So yeah, I joined 3 years ago, but having been number 2 before, we'd got Mosiac in a good place, very focused, starting to make some impact, and it was really, okay, how do we take this to the next level? And frankly, needed some support around that, both for myself, but also the wider team.
How much of an idea did you have at that stage of where you wanted to go? Obviously you wanted to go forward, but did you know what that was?
No, absolutely. I mean, more, better, but other than that sort of vague generalism, we didn't know the specifics of where we wanted to take it, or I don't think actually we quite believed where we could take.
And you were, I suppose, relatively new in that role. How does it feel like knowing that you wanted a vision, but...
I think it was an interesting, for me as a first-time CEO, I knew what I needed to do to shore up the organisation, to have us really focused, and then it became really quite clear that I needed, and the organisation needed, a real rallying call, something, a vision around which to say, right, that's where we're going to take the organisation. And that's where Suki's been helping us so much.
So what is it about Suki's and Sherlill's approach that enabled you to do that? What were they doing?
I think, partly it's believing in us, believing what we wanted to achieve, getting excited about that and helping us to open our eyes as to actually how much talent we had. When you work in the charitable sector, we don't pay so well, we don't get the glory all the time. And actually we're saying, no, your people and you have fantastic ideas, you're making a real difference. But the added extra was, okay, and here's some structures, here's some processes that can really help you to better understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you need to do to punch through to the next level.
Because you mentioned working in the charitable sector, and I just wonder how you motivate people, how you keep them going in a sector that maybe under-acknowledged, doesn't get the respect or the value it deserves. What did Sherlill's do to enable you to do that?
The simplest thing is to be able to show to the team the impact we're making and to help them realise that there's a nobler cause, a higher cause, and their part in that. And it's that satisfaction of, most of the people who work for us, they're not motivated by profit. Obviously we want to pay them well and look after them, but they're motivated by making a positive difference to society. And there's a lot of people in the charitable sector who are very passionate and very worthy, but not. A great phrase I heard recently is just because you're doing good doesn't mean you're doing it well. And I think what we've been working with Sherlill's on is how do we make sure we do it really well?
Can you give me an example then? Because you talked about processes and frameworks. Can you give me an example of how one of those things has enabled you to do that?
So a very simple exercise. We've been working on developing a 5-year strategy. What's our intent? What are the big mission statements we want to do? But actually a very simple bit was looking at the capability of the organisation and having a very clear structure and just going, you know what we're really missing is a culture strategy. What we're really missing is some really good underpinning systems to make us more efficient. It didn't take hugely long, but just having that structure, just go, that's it, there we go. And everyone buys into that very quickly.
And can you give me an example of the underpinning system you talk about?
So, we've gone from an organisation which had tens of mentors to one now that has hundreds, not quite thousands, but getting there, of volunteer mentors. You can't manage the back of a fag packet. You can't do that through just relying on personal relationships. So what we're now working on is finding partners to say, look, help us to build the structure so that we can more efficiently manage the time of those mentors, get them into the places they need to be without us having to deal with it just on that one-to-one personal relationship, which you can't do with that many mentors.
So it was simply having that capability structure?
It was having the framework, the decision-making framework to say, here are the things that a successful business needs to be able to go to the next level. And yeah, we're really good on these things, but we need to do some work on here. And it just enable us to very quickly identify, okay, that is going to be the thing that if we don't fix it means we stay at this level, but if we fix it and it's not actually that difficult, we've got ability to help so many more hundreds and thousands of young people.
You also talked about the importance of culture, and I just wonder again if you could give me an example of where you've got to, because on the surface you look like a mentoring programme.
Mm-hmm.
How has that changed your approach and aspirations?
We are a mentoring programme, but actually we've got a wider role within society because we're very much focused on young people from ethnic minorities. So many of our mentors are ethnic minorities, and so we play a bigger role in terms of, our name is Mosiac, it's the mosaic of society, and helping people to appreciate all of the different perspectives and insights and cultures that come together to make up today's society. So actually having a set of values that could bind the team, that could bind our wider supporters, was a hugely important bit of that, so that we could have a common language, a common lexicon to work across those boundaries.
And what is that value in a nutshell?
I mean, it's one of respect, it's one of tolerance, and actually embracing that diversity and that mosaic. So the mosaic's really, really important. We're not a melting pot, which just gives you a brown sludge. We're lots of individual identities that come together that make a fantastic whole.
And what was that process like, working through that realisation with Suki?
Genuinely really fun, really uplifting. We had the whole team involved in that, and we spent a lot of time really teasing that through, and the team really felt engaged in that, and they started coming up with descriptions of the organisation that work for, the values that they love, that have stuck with us, that in the tough times someone would just go, and they'll use the phrase, and it'll just cut the mood, and we can move on to the next thing.
They use the phrase, what's the phrase?
Well, no, it was a really silly one. So, we have our byline is the power of positive thinking, and we've had that for a while. And we were having discussion because the team is a very high, demanding one, and they've got high expectations because they want to help these young people, and sometimes they moan. And if you're the CEO, you just, they're moaning again. And someone said, no, it's all right, Jonathan, I get it now. It's the power of positive moaning. And I know it sounds really funny, and that's the thing, it lightened me. And I said, well, all of a sudden I went, okay, it is actually positive. It's because they want to achieve so much, because they get frustrated by not being able to help all of the young people out there. That's what's driving them. And as soon as we got that, it changed. And absolutely, it made it fun. We're a charity at the end of the day, it's got to be fun.
So what does your business feel like now and going forward? Where do you hope it's going to be? Well,
there's a lot more confidence within the team. There's a lot more confidence around our supporters. We've got some fantastic new funding partners around us, enabling us to grow. So over the last 3 years, we've tripled the number of young people we can help. And I think all of us are just saying, well, the sky's the limit here. We can carry on with that sort of growth, making sure we hold on to quality. So it's a really nice feel now. It's always hard work because you're working with tough problems. One of my former board members told the rest of them, look, if this was easy, guys, you guys would be making money out of this. We're not making money, to the other businessmen, but we're changing lives, and we know we've got a recipe for success.
Give me the figures again for the number of young people you're helping now.
So in the year just gone, we supported 5,000 young people across the United Kingdom, and this year we'll be doing at least 6,000. That's with last year just shy of 1,000 volunteer mentors, working in 150 schools and prisons. That's an enormous undertaking. And none of them have to do it. They can all those mentors can walk away tomorrow. It's a very fickle market, and so we need to make sure they're loved, that they are recognised, and that they understand the difference they're making to those young people.
Which is where the positive
The power of positive thinking, and that means we need to help them realise and say, did you know that the young person you were mentoring last year that looked like they were going to drop out has just become a prefect? Silly things like that. Or those kids' GCSE results are 20% higher than all the rest of the school, and they'll always come back if you can make sure they can see that it was worth making the effort.
And in relation to some of those many changes, what would you like to say to Suki, your coach?
Huge thank you. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for putting up with my disbelief that actually this could have that much difference, but it really has. And it's not a client relationship. We're partners walking forward on this together.
It suggests from what you've just said that you haven't always been, a big believer in coaching. Would that be right? No, I don't think I would say I wasn't a believer in coaching. I run a mentoring organisation. Of course I get that. Theory. I'm quite a practical person, and I like doing it, and I'll take a little bit here and a little bit from there. I'm never going to buy the whole package. But actually what I've come to appreciate is, I've bought a lot of the package. Other members of my team have bought other bits of that package, metaphorically. And the whole, even if I don't practice it relentlessly every day, I've taken something out of that.